In this section, we're going to talk about dealing with peach fuzz. I said peach fuzz, not peach fuss, because that's what the fuss is all about. Now, peach fuzz has a different array of problems because there's easy peach fuzz and hard peach fuzz. Now, easy peach fuzz is what we're going to talk about today, and try not to trip on our words. So, I use this example by Daniel Hall because it's one that I think is a good introduction to it. And then we're going to go on to a complex example as well. But I feel like most of the problems that happen is quite easy in terms of peach fuzz. So I want to talk about that first, talk about the technique around it, and then go on to a more complex area. My first step that I'm going to do over here is set a new layer. Now in this layer here, we're going to focus strictly on this area here, maybe some of the cheek as well. But instead of just going into healing directly, I'm going to set up my, this noise layer here. And the reason for that, as I mentioned in earlier examples, is when I end up defocusing on areas like this where it's so dense with color, this will end up keeping things in focus for us. It's kind of like a safety net where I don't zoom in too far. And it lets me focus on the hairs that are most obvious without getting too wrapped up in color and detail. So I can tone down that detail by just adding that noise layer and zooming out. Okay, stay focused on the prize. It doesn't matter what it looks like this. It matters what it looks like this. This is where you know peach fuzz is happening or not. This is the hot spot for peach fuzz. I don't know what that was. Okay, we're gonna go into our healing first. It's gonna clean up some of this area. Let's rotate here. I don't know why, but we're gonna do it because we'll get ready here, really situate it and plan it down. And I'm gonna get rid of these guys here first. Okay, just a regular healing brush. Now, next, why don't we also do some of the cheek, okay? Because I think you wanna know what I'm gonna do here too, which I'm gonna show you later anyway, but I'm gonna do a little bit of that here. So I'll clean up that. Now, in this step of the process is very integral because we want to also heal the hairs that stand out the most. And that is why I add the noise layer, because it really focuses in on the ones that stand out the most. And just healing that away will be a good step in the right direction. So I'll heal the ones that stand out the most. How do you know which ones stand out the most? Well, it's because the ones that are either catching too much light or getting too much shadow. Okay, and if you're not sure, just practice. And if you're still not sure, only take care of the ones that you know are definitely off. If you are completely uncertain, don't touch them. Because if you keep doing things and retouching things that are not necessarily bad, then you're going to over-retouch. It's better to under-retouch than over-retouch in the beginning, because then people can always say, hey, can you go a little bit further here? Instead of saying, hey, you went too far. In fact, you know, a lot of people won't even tell you that you've gone too far. They're just going to let you sort it out by yourself. So, continuing on, I'll do a little bit of cleanup here, and I'll do that. And I'll do that here. And also, I'll take care of this white strip, that one there, and that one there. I'm sampling on the line and also pasting on the line. And what that does for me is it doesn't create a mess. Because if I sampled here and start brushing here, guess what? Mess. We don't want to mess. We want to pick it up. We want a quicker picker-upper. There we go. Let's zoom out. Let's take care of that. And the same thing happens here. We can take care of these little hairs that are going in the red paint. This seems to be the ones that are calling our attention the most. And then we'll just fix that and continue on. And go on with our day. Okay, so now the things that are really bothering me now, okay, are this little line here. And we're gonna even that out as well. But let's continue healing. Let's continue healing. There. Next, maybe this one here. You see how I'm zooming out? I want to make sure that the ones that I'm focusing on really matter. So let's turn this on and off here real quick. You can see what I've done is the ones that are the sharpest, the ones that are standing out the most, I've taken out here. Now, here's where it gets really easy. This is why I call this the easy picture, because in this step, we can take it out all together in one go. This whole line of peach fuzz, we're just gonna take it out. Okay, so take a new layer. Fuzz be gone. Oh, it literally went away. We're gonna take our clone brush. Having too much fun retouching. Take a clone brush here, go to 20% flow, no, to 10%. We're not that daring, are we yet? Take 10% flow. We are gonna sample over here in a general area. Let's sample here. Now we are just gonna brush up like this. Okay, and then continue below here. I'm gonna sample here and go up like this. Bam. So, we turn it on and off. You can see that it's gone, except now what we'll do quickly, let's also finish that up here. Now we'll take a mask, okay? Don't worry, don't freak out. We're not done. We're not done. Let's take it step by step. Take it. Oh, okay. I didn't mean that pun. It's intentional. Take our brush. We'll even that out, and we'll go down here for makeup. Okay. We'll worry about the makeup in a minute, okay? Don't worry about the line of the makeup. This is not the makeup tutorial, but we're gonna tackle that as well. So you see it actually took out that peach fuzz. Except what happened was it got brighter because the area source form was brighter. So the way to combat that problem is obviously we're gonna burn, okay? We're gonna take a big brush and we're just gonna burn. And the cool thing is, let's say we burn a lot. Okay, let's say we go, oh, I didn't mean to do that. Let's say we only wanted to focus that burning on the brush strokes that we did with the clone brush. Well, if you hold Option and hover between the two layers here, the burn and the fuzz layer, and you click right in between when the icon shows up, what it's gonna do for you is it's only gonna burn the area that you cloned. So it's basically a clipping layer. It clips on to these brush strokes here and only darkens that. So even if you deleted this mask here, it only darkens that area. If we hit Option or Alt and go in between, you'll see this arrow that's being crossed out. I'm going to click again, and what that does is takes off the clipping layer. So now it's burning everything. So if I click it, it only burns the brush stroke that we did. So we can start with that. And then now what I'll do is with our mask, I just put a blank mask again, and I will simply cover up some of the edges very gently, so that what it does is it transitions into that curvature. So you can see when I turn those on and off, it keeps the darkness and it also gets rid of the fuzz. If you want to change it up, just go back into that layer, select another point, and then start brushing. Because the mask is already there, it's not going anywhere. It's going to keep its place. That's why working on blank layers is so helpful. And then we can go back to our burn tool and fix the darkening lightning if we wanted to. Okay. And if it's also too intense, maybe you're like, you know what, I want to keep a little bit of that fuzz for realism purposes. You can pull it back down. See, it's 55% now. So you can control the intensity of the fuzz with a mask like that, and then just burn it later. So the takeaway there is get rid of the fuzz, fix the shadowing later, but do it with a brush stroke that's wide. And don't do repeated brush strokes, just do a couple going up and down the area with the texture that's close by. What that's going to do is going to layer it nicely. If you don't do that, what happens is you're going to end up, let me put that back on, you're going to end up with something that's not really attractive. Because if I do multiple strokes and I keep sampling and doing strokes like this, what's going to happen is it's going to become one flat color. That's not what we're trying to do here. What we're trying to do is take one stroke and gently guide it across, and it's going to sample a nice layer of texture across the area. So just because I'm going up and down doesn't mean I'm resampling again and again, okay? So resample like that, and then you can see the texture is replaced. And you can mask it in, burn it, dodge it to really blend it in. And ultimately, I feel like that is the easiest way to get rid of really clean, simple peach fuzz in areas like this. Then again, you can add a noise or a burn layer. And if you don't want to use a clipping mask, you can simply just manually, just manually go and burn it in like this on top, generally. So I'm not using a clipping mask, I'm just burning on top. And then you can mask that so that, the edges of the makeup are not contaminated with the clone brush. Like that. See? So that's one way with the burn curve adjustment layer. And that's also another way with the clipping mask as well. Both the same technique, except one with the clipping mask, one without. Both quite similar. It doesn't matter really what you like, but that's how I did that. Also, when you're dealing with stuff like that makeup over there, what you can do, that's not what you can do. We can go back, click on a blank layer here. Again, use a clone brush like we've done in previous examples, and just edge it up like this. You can also sample inside the makeup and edge this up. And just depending on the shift of shadows and highlights, it becomes much easier then once you've got rid of that peach fuzz. Simple enough, I think, and it prevents you from losing your mind trying to deal with peach fuzz. So there you have it. That's a simple technique in order to take care of peach fuzz. Let's also talk about ways to tackle really hard peach fuzz as well as sideburns.